All right. I need to head to work here soon. But I have a bit more time, so I'm just gonna blab away. I don't know what I'm gonna blab away about. I'm out of weed. Actually, I think I might have some in here. Although it's probably a lot of leaf. Yeah, no, there's a lot of leaf in there. But it's only like one hit. Oh my god. I need to get more weed. Anyways, but I am drinking too much coffee, so. La 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 la. Coffee, I like coffee, coffee doesn't give you energy, right? That's an advertising lie. You know, coffee shoots adrenaline into your body and puts you in a state of fight or flight. So it's the perfect drug of the bourgeoisie to keep the proletariat down. Because, you drink your coffee and now you go out there and you work to make some other guy rich. And, but at the end of the day, you have this energy dump. Boom. Speaking of coffee. So, you're just too tired to give a damn at the end of the day. So looking at coffee through that lens, one could make many arguments against it, right? But, I like to write and think and, putting my body into a state of fight or flight while I'm doing this can be very fun. Nicotine focuses the brain. So a lot of writers and artists, they like to smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. Anyways, I just made a video, and I made videos before. But, don't, I don't want people to like misunderstand me, right? Because I, made a video on, or I started talking about the advertisers, right? And so from that video, you might think, oh, I condemn the advertisers, and but like I don't know, some of that advertising stuff is a lot of fun, I think, right? Like the one book that I read is Edward Bernays' Propaganda. And it was just a fascinating read. And so yeah, I totally wanna eventually start reading more advertising books. They seem very interesting. Um, Um, la, la. But I mean, we could. I don't know. I mean, there's this just knee-jerk reaction. Maybe some people have, others don't. That sees all this advertising stuff, and they're just gonna just, oh, this is terrible. How could you? How could you do this? Um, it's just slimy, uh, discomforting. Um, but I mean, you could look at it from another angle. It's like, why does any of this stuff have power, right? Um, and I think at the end of the day, it's like it has power because we let it. Um, like let's say you have that you have confidence, right? Um, you're not going to let anyone fool you into thinking that taking their product will give you confidence, right? But I mean, and it's silly to think about that. I'll buy this product and you get confidence, right? But people do that. They go out there and they buy their big trucks. I'm a big man because I bought a big truck. Um, I mean, that's pretty silly, right? So it's like, I mean, for me, like when I was younger, I wanted wisdom. I did. That's been my main goal in life, wisdom. Um, and one thing that I started to love to do is to just question everything. Um, I mean, anything entering into your brain uh, could be like a toxic person trying to enter into your life. The toxic person trying to enter into your life, they're going to enter into it with loving faces and uh, lying lips. Um, what the fuck am I talking about right now? I'm tired. I hate this stuff. Way. I'm a big man. Because I bought a big truck. Um, but I laugh, right? So I mean, I do. I mean, this is it's fascinating stuff. Um, but even in my you see, in my readings of the Torah, right? Um, I think, I think Moses gives you the key to interpretation when he tells you to learn about human behavior. I think at one point he's like, hey, by the way, learn about human behavior. Um, and that's the key to a lot of the interpretation. But you know, I think that's what he does. He is like the modern advertiser, the Edward Bernays, and he's manipulating these Jews, right? um, like again in the Sodom and Gomorrah story, the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah was that their law laid hands on innocent people. That was the sin of it. Wasn't butt sex. It was that their laws laid hands on innocent people, right? And so, in Moses, it's wrong to lay hands on people, but you know you can lay hands on people physically, but you can also lay hands on people mentally or emotionally or spiritually or whatever, more subtly. Um, but then later on, it says when the angels are getting Lot out of the city, it says they lay hands on him, right? They lay hands for the sake of mercy. I mean, this would actually suggest that the hero is fundamentally wrong, um, because when they do save Lot, and they only save Lot, it's out of mercy. Like these angels aren't gonna come in and save the day; they're gonna tell you to climb that rope. Um, anyways, that's interesting. But um, you know, like one of the reasons I'm making this video is, you know, I don't want the advertisers out there to think I'm against them, and you know, and that you guys are immoral. No, I think that's a lot of the comedy within Moses' work. Is his manipulations of the Jews, right? Like there's this one comical battle that happens, and Moses is he's on top of the mountain, and he's, you know, he's trying to lift his staff or something, but it's heavy, right? But every time he's able to lift his staff, you know, the Jews fight hard. But if his staff falls, then they, you know, start to waver, you know, and it's this comical scene. Like he's, like life in the Egyptian cities was not life. It turned these Jews into quivering, pathetic beings that need to have confidence come from another man. And so he was pretending, right? He was just fucking pretending. One day I was out in the desert with my friend when I was a teenager, and we were in his truck, and we were listening to music, and there was a lightning storm out in the distance. And what I think was happening, because these lightning bolts were just like boom, 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 hitting the ground. What I think was happening was I think someone out in the distance had a bunch of lightning rods in the ground. You know, because this was like a fantastic sight, right? and we're listening to like 90s rock music, and all these flashlights are happening. The lightning just boom, 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 keeps hitting the ground. And it was just this spectacular sight. And I think there's this scene, I could be wrong, I'm not a scientist, but I think there's this scene where Moses goes out into the desert to talk to God, right? And while he's talking to God, there's all this lightning, boom, 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 hitting the ground. And I think that he was putting lightning rods into the ground, right? So in other words, he had scientific knowledge which he didn't pass on in the written word, which I think is interesting. But he was totally using lightning rods. And he's using lightning rods to try to get people to love God, right? But at the end of the day, what's he saying? He's just saying, hey, love each other and love yourselves. Like, stop being so stupid. So, I think Moses totally had this, like, if Moses were alive today, I said that he'd probably be in the UFC, but he'd also I think he'd probably be one of the top advertisers out there, Because, I think for Moses, everyone needs to develop themselves, and this idea that you need this man to build you up is comically stupid. And so Moses, like the angels, he puts his hands on the Jews because your confidence shouldn't come from another man. You shouldn't love someone else just because someone's telling you to. Hey, I love everybody. Everybody love. Everyone should have their own relationship with God or the beyond, or the void. Embrace the void and be free. Anyways. Yeah, no, I think some of this advertising stuff is very fascinating. And it's like, if we wanted to get into this morally, I think a lot of the moral burden would be on the people who are unwise, right? I guess we would say. Do. But yeah, no, just you advertisers out there. You know, keep having fun, right? I got this one story I wrote, and you have this secret society, and they put the world into this fantasy world, and but there's this one guy who goes into their meeting, and he records them, right? And the fantasy world that they're put in is this hatred of robots. But these men bring out a robot, you know. And there's this one guy viewing this, and he's like, "Oh my God, these leaders are surrounded by this robot," and the leaders end up saying they're celebrating, and it's just this celebration. They're at this little party for them. But there's someone on stage talking, and the robot comes out, and the guy on stage, he yells out, "Zeros and ones forever," you know, and then the men all chant that out. They're like, "Zeros and ones forever," you know. um, Mathematics is a really binary thing. Like all of mathematics is really just different forms of addition and subtraction, ones and zeros, right? Um, Multiplication is just an easier way to add. It's just a bit more complex question. Um, Calculus is an easier way to add. It's just a bit more complex question, right? So zeros and ones. You know, reason itself is also very binary, right? It's uh, yeah, no, it's like, oh, this is either true or false, you know, I mean, ones and zeros, right? So, I mean, and there's this, you know, a lot of people who just get caught up in it, and all they are ones and zeros, right? Um, but you know what? I think the advertising mind is divine.